fucking body hurts right now.
Did you like just keep going or did you go to bed?
And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Friday, December 17th. I am Josh Engelman. I am joined by Adam Scher. We are here to break down an 8-game NBA slate. But before we do that, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and give yourselves a shout out. Well, I'll give a shout out to PrizePicks, the presenting sponsor of this video. Adam, I mostly slowed down after the Liverpool match.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. But, you know, it was still a fun night. I mean, it was like 75 and sunny all day yesterday. So it was just like a really good time to be out as long as you wanted to be yesterday.
Yeah, your normal mid-December weather.
Yep, exactly. Perfect mid-December weather. My parents get here on Monday and it's supposed to be like a high of 42. I was like, thanks for bringing in your outstanding Pennsylvania weather, Mom. Fantastic. I know you didn't play last night. I didn't play last night either. So I don't really have to ask you how it went.
Yeah, no, a lot of the stuff I talked about seems like it did well. feel like someone that we used to work with.
You're lucky I was taking a sip of water. I would have beat you to that
one. But yeah, no, I didn't play. Got the TVs set up. I promised my friend we'd go out for drinks if he helped me. So had to take the night off.
Can't wait to get more hot takes here from Fast Adam Share. It'll be a good time. We got 8 games to talk about. Some of them are truly preposterous. So let's go ahead and just straight up dive in right now. Because by the time we get to the last game of the slate, which is Memphis-Sacramento, we're going to need time. So let's do it. First game on the docket, Miami at Orlando. Miami 4.5-point favorites, 209 total for this one. We have a questionable tag. Maybe I'll move all the windows around that I actually need to look at, put them in front of my eyes instead of just having to guess everything that's happening right now. Miami has no Jimmy Butler, no Bam Adebayo, no Markieff Morris, no Caleb Martin, Q tag on Tyler Hero and Yurt7. I'm assuming those guys are in for right now. We'll see if that's really true, but we've got Kyle Lowry pulling 31% ownership on FanDuel at 7K. We've got him at 16% ownership at 7,800 on DraftKings. The interesting piece here, and we just are going to have to get an update as we move forward. Tyler Hero projected for 9% ownership on FanDuel, 2 on DraftKings. If he's in, I would like to have a lot more than that, at least on FanDuel. We'll talk that through. Duncan Robinson is 10% owned on FanDuel. Dwayne Dedmon is 10% owned on DraftKings. How are you feeling about Miami here if Hero is in?
Looks like a good spot. I mean, Orlando is a favorable matchup. They play at a relatively fast pace. They don't defend. You're still missing Butler. You're still missing Bam. So it gives you Kyle Lowry at 7,800. Coming off of a horrible game his last time out. You and I talked about he was a good play on that slate, but also getting a ton of ownership. And, it's not like he can't fail. Now you get him on a slate where there's a ton of other good options, drives his ownership down a little bit. Still a good matchup, though, against Orlando. Only projected for about 15% ownership on DraftKings. Without Butler or Bam on the floor this year, he's been a little over a fantasy point per minute guy, but he's also likely to play 36 plus minutes. So I think he looks good. If Hero is in, 6,900 on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. He looks good. He's been disappointing recently during this stretch without Butler, but he's still a fantasy point per minute player without Butler and Bam on the floor this year in 347 minutes. He has a 30.4% usage rate. And it's just another situation where there's so many other good plays on the slate. It's going to keep Hero probably from being as popular as he would be a lot of other times. You have Dedmon, who his minutes are hit or miss, but this is a big Orlando front court. It's likely that he's out there for a lot of minutes again. He's 5K flat, looks good. Obviously there's going to be plenty of center plays on this slate. PJ Tucker's back to 4,500. We talked about him the other day, and I don't like saying positive things about PJ Tucker as a DFS player, but it's important to note that he's played 274 minutes without Butler and Bam this year, and he's averaged 0.84 DraftKings points per minute, double-digit rebounding percentage, assist percentage, and usage rate. He's kind of in a situation where, as opposed to doing nothing at all, he's just doing like a little bit of everything. And at $4,500, if he's going to play 34 plus minutes, that is actually pretty appealing.
Yeah, I
don't
disagree. Yeah, I don't disagree with a single word that you just said. I wish that I did.
I'm hoping I don't get there. I don't think it's I think
it's going to be really easy to not be there today.
Right. I don't think he's a great play in the context of the slate, but I do think that, his salary dropped $800 and he's only projected for about 8% ownership right now.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable.
If Hero sits, really, regardless of Hero, Duncan Robinson looks fine. If Hero sits, those minutes for Robinson should be a little bit more secure.
Yeah. I don't really have too much for Miami here. This one just seems pretty obvious. And once again, if Kyle Lowry's 30% owned on FanDuel, I'm just going to be under that number at 7K today. There's just too many good plays. Like, he has not been. I'm really surprised by what his numbers are when those guys aren't on the floor. I just thought he would take over more, and he's just not. And I don't know what that means. Is he just getting old?
I wasn't really listening to you.
That makes sense. 31% ownership on Kyle Lowry. I feel like I talk about it every show. Like, I'm just not interested if everybody's there already.
Especially on a slate like this. Like, I agree with you. The 31% makes sense as far as he's very clearly underpriced at 7K, but there's just so many good plays on this slate that are in that price range. Normally, Normally on a slate like this, where there's just like a million good plays, there's a bunch of shorthanded teams, a bunch of injuries / health and safety protocol guys out. The mid-range guys, typically, I just don't really have trouble finding lower owned players that have the same range of outcomes. It's more difficult when you talk about someone like Davion Mitchell at 3,600. There's just not going to be, we'll talk about that in the Kings game later, but there's just not going to be that many $3,600 guys that give you a remotely similar outlook as Davion Mitchell. A 7K Kyle Lowry, yes, he is underpriced, but it's not. It goes back to, you don't win just because like you don't get bonus money for all 9 guys in your lineup hitting 5.5x. Like you have to score the most points, and so when, to an extent, everybody's underpriced because half the league is in health and safety protocols. Lowry can score 38 FanDuel points at 7K, which is fine. And it's still pretty likely that he just doesn't matter because there's like 2 point guards that score 45.
Like right away, and like these guys have questionable tags on it. So like, I want to be clear here, but one of them doesn't. Terry Rozier's $200 more expensive. He's got 3% ownership. Now, Kyle Lowry is very clearly projected better than Terry Rozier. And I don't even think it's particularly close, but 30-3 is a thing. Tyrese Halliburton is 7,200. I think he's an actual better play than Kyle Lowry today if he plays. 8% owned. That's a Q tag, 8%. Cole Anthony, 7,400. I think he's just as good of a play as Kyle Lowry today, 7% owned. Q tag, that's Q tag ownership. So maybe Lowry's ownership just comes down because of those guys as we get closer. But otherwise, I just want to take shots on other guys just at 7K, just at point guard.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just 7K too. It's it's not like you have to play a 7K guy either. You can go down, you can go up. Drew Holiday at 8,200 is getting less ownership right now than Kyle Lowry.
Right. Yeah, that's
by 2 points, but
it's still
clearly, you're talking about a well over 1 fantasy point per minute guy compared to a 1 fantasy point per minute guy. That $1,200, I think I can figure it out and find some value elsewhere.
We're on the same page there for sure. I don't think I have anything else here for the Miami side of this one.
Vincent, if Hero is out, should play a lot of minutes. If he's in, be cautious. I mean, he could still get plenty of run. He got like 35 minutes the last game Hero played, and he got 30 the game before that. But there's also plenty of times that if Hero is in, the closing lineup is Lowry, Hero, Robinson, Tucker, Dedmon, and Vincent's playing like 26 minutes.
Yeah. All right. On the Orlando side, oh God, I'm just tired of all of this like questionable nonsense. It makes this so not fun to deal with. Q tag on Cole Anthony, Q tag on Mo Bamba, Q tag on Gary Harris, no Suggs, no Isaac, no Fultz, no MCW, Eton Moore, or Iggy Brazdeikis. So
that's important.
Yeah. Well, he's played.
Yeah.
Cole Anthony, Mo Bamba, Gary Harris. Those are the 3 questionable tags. I have all 3 guys in for right now. I don't really know what to make of it. It's a 7:00 game. At least we'll know. And if they're all in, there's not a ton that I'm interested in here. Franz Wagner is at 13% ownership on FanDuel. I'll go elsewhere. Wendell Carter's 12% owned on FanDuel. It's fine. If Cole Anthony's ownership happens to be correct, he's very clearly the best play on Orlando. And after that, I'm just really not excited.
Yeah, the questionable stuff obviously makes a huge difference here. I mean, this has the potential to just be an absolute nightmare of a game, but assuming those guys are in, I mean, Cole Anthony played 35 minutes last game or 34 minutes, left, during garbage time. So my assumption is he's going to play. Gary Harris was a late scratch. My assumption in that situation normally is that they come back, but it is Gary Harris. So I don't know, he'll probably be out for a month. Mo Bamba, kind of the same thing. They thought he was going to play last game. So for now, I'm assuming these guys play. If they do, then I like them in tournaments. You mentioned Cole Anthony on FanDuel, same kind of thing on DraftKings. He's 7,800. He's likely to play 34 minutes. He has about a 29% usage rate, 29% assist percentage without Jalen Suggs. Looks pretty good. 6,900 for Wendell Carter Jr., assuming he's going to play 32, 33 minutes. Looks pretty good. Doesn't stand out compared to a lot of other options on the slate, but that also is going to keep the ownership relatively low. If those guys miss, then it just turns into a whole different conversation.
This is the rest of Orlando is just a deeper dive live before lock discussion. There's too many moving. I mean, we're talking about like 100 minutes in the starting lineup that could come in or out. And
not even knowing the starting lineup. I mean, last game Bamba was out. He was replaced by Chuma Okeke. It could be someone else today. Gary Harris was replaced by RJ Hampton. It could be anyone else. Watch our other shows later today.
On to the Denver Nuggets at the Atlanta Hawks. Nuggets are 4-point dogs in Atlanta, which is also interesting to me given Denver's status. Everybody's basically available. Austin Rivers is now probable. JaMychal Green is the only guy that plays that is out that you would be like, that's the only real news. Bones Highland, I assume, is allowed to play here. He was benched for the entire game for violating team rules the last time out. I have him in. I don't know how much it matters. For Denver, Jokic is about 20% owned on both sites. Clearly, I'm not going to tell anybody to not play Nikola Jokic. Will Barton looks okay to me at 6K on FanDuel. Aaron Gordon's kind of interesting to me on FanDuel at just 5% ownership as a GPP play, but that's pretty much it here. And if we're really being honest, it's kind of just like Jokic and not much else.
Yeah, that's how it normally is. Jokic is really becoming a problem, like a good problem, a fun one, but
yeah,
it's almost like Russell Westbrook-esque from 5 or 6 years ago when he was on OKC without Durant, because on the one hand, yes, like there's a high opportunity cost on Jokic because he's only center eligible. You can find plenty of high upside centers elsewhere. You can find plenty of high upside players elsewhere. But at the same time, if you don't roster Jokic, you're basically just giving your opponents a 60 plus fantasy point head start and that's being, pessimistic about how he does. A decent amount of time, it's 70 plus. He's playing huge minutes. He's doing everything on the floor. He's now played 10 games this year without Porter and with Will Barton. In those 10 complete games, he's at 1.79 DraftKings points per minute, 31% usage rate, 50.9% assist percentage in those games, and a 21.5% rebounding percentage to go along with it, averaging 34.3 minutes per game, which is pretty crazy for a center. Over that sample. So, I mean, it's just, there's nothing negative to say about him. You can build very good lineups without Nikola Jokic. It's just a matter of, can you make up 70 fantasy points? On a slate like this, I think the answer is yes, you can. It's still going to be difficult, but slates like this, if you are ever going to get away from Jokic, and I talked about this the other day, I think it is on this type of slate where there's so many like mid-range guys, like the Milwaukee players, for example, that can legitimately go for 55 fantasy points. It's not like you're looking at them saying, oh, they can get there. It's like, no, there's like a 35% chance they will. So when the mid-range is that strong, those are the slates where you can make a little bit better case for getting away from Jokic. But at the same time, there's also really good value on this slate in terms of cheap guys. So it makes it like, okay, well, yeah, but I can also just drop this 5K guy to a 3K guy and then still get Jokic somewhere. So I expect I'll have a lot of Jokic. Ownership is what will really determine exactly how much I get. But I guess the main point is Jokic is clearly the top play in terms of projection. He's great. If you can get him in the lineups, go for it.
We also have another unique situation where the Lakers are in Minnesota with no Russell Westbrook. That immediately makes LeBron James and Anthony Davis actual viable fantasy plays instead of not like they've
still
been
not remotely close to Jokic, but yeah.
No, but I don't want to say similar ceilings, but like guys that can put up scores that are absolute necessities at cheaper price tags.
Yeah, their realistic ceiling is basically Jokic's projection.
Yep, agreed. It's craziness.
But they're cheaper.
Yeah, and both Lakers and Minnesota both playing very quick. So whereas Denver, like that's the really crazy part about Jokic's per minute rates. They're one of the slowest teams in basketball. If they played like a neutral team, he's at like 1.8 fantasy points per minute. He puts up per minute rates as a team that does not have as many possessions in a minute. Nuts. Are we doing anything else here for Denver?
The other thing, so DraftKings, I'm not sure what he is on FanDuel, but DraftKings specifically, the other issue with Jokic is that DeMarcus Cousins is only a center.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's only a center on FanDuel, but I think he's more expensive. Now he's 3,700 on FanDuel. So that's still very interesting, but not the same kind of play that he is on DraftKings. And we'll get to that because who the hell knows how much he's actually going to play. Right. He doesn't even have to get all the minutes. That could just be Mamu. And
yeah, but if he plays 18 minutes, he probably is someone you have to have.
Yep, I agree. Oh yeah, I didn't mean it like that, but like they only have two actual centers. They're either splitting 40. We're going to get to them. They're either splitting 48 minutes or Jordan Mora is center for today. So we'll see. On Atlanta, big piece of information here, and I don't know how it's going to impact this team. Onyeka Okongwu is back, and that is going to complicate matters. Highest owned guy in this game today is John Collins, 15% on FanDuel, 12 on DraftKings. Trae Young is 10% owned on DK at 10-2. That's an interesting piece of information here today. 10% on FanDuel as well. How are we handling Atlanta, and what do you want to do with Okongwu, and whose minutes does he start to take?
Does he take anybody's?
I think he's absolutely on the floor.
Like, didn't he DNP a ton last year?
Yeah, but as the season went on, he was in more and more, and he was really good defensively in the playoffs. So they want him. He's very important to them in the playoffs as a defensive player.
Okay, so the first obvious answer is Jang, his like 6 minutes or whatever. You probably.
By the way, just for the record, I gave him 12 minutes. So it's not as if I'm projecting him for like legit rotational shit.
Right. But what matters is, one, does it's going to have a negative impact, assuming he's actually in the rotation for like, a stint in each half. It's going to have a negative impact on either Clint Capella or John Collins. Capella would be the negative case for Capella would be Collins still gets backup center minutes. So Capella is just playing less. Like they say, okay, Okongwu's back. We can get Capella back to 28 minutes where we really would like to keep him for, longevity reasons. Yeah. So that's like the negative case for Capella. The negative case for Collins would be they still play Capella 34 minutes. Okongwu plays 14 minutes. Now Collins is getting no center minutes. The center minutes are really valuable for Collins. So we don't know which way it's going to go, but I would expect one of those two things happens. I also, the rest of the impacts I'd think are negligible. Like I assume either DeLon Wright or Lou Williams gets basically booted from the rotation. And like I think the main piece is probably, I think Reddish is still the same type of play. I think, Herter and Gallinari and Young are essentially unaffected.
I think this was my thought going through it. I think Trae Young, Lou Will, DeLon Wright, and Kevin Herter are just going to play basically all of the minutes at the 1 and the 2. And then we're going to have to see something gets pinched in TLC, Reddish, Gallo. I think it's just easier to knock TLC down to like 18 minutes. You play Reddish more at the 3. Gallo plays a couple extra minutes at the 3, and you don't really have to touch anything on Collins.
Yeah, but TLC's already playing
idea.
Like 18 to 20 minutes.
Did I look at that wrong? Oh, yeah. I don't know why I was like fixated on those games where he was playing north of 30. That first one where Reddish came back. Yeah. So like I've got TLC in for 19 now. The same minutes that I mentioned for the guards. Okongwu at 12, Gallo at 25, Capella 31, Collins 32. I don't know what it's going to be. The problem is they can close with like 10 different dudes.
Right. So long story short, basically, Okongwu's return potentially has a little bit of a negative impact on Capella or Collins. Probably doesn't affect too much else. Maybe has a negative impact on like Gallo or Reddish, but
yeah.
The
key piece here is that none of these guys look all that great to begin with.
Right. Yeah. And there's nothing like definitive. There's nothing. It's not like you're looking at this and saying like, oh, Reddish can't play 26 minutes now or Gallo can't play 26 minutes. It's more of just like, these are the potential things that could happen. Kind of keep an eye on what they do with Okongwu, and we'll have more information next time Atlanta plays.
Coming up next, 11 a.m. NFL on the contrary. Then we've got the NFL Top Stacks show at 12:30. We've got the NFL strategy show for Saturday matchups at 1. The NHL strategy show at 2. The Yahoo NFL show at 3. The PrizePicks college football show at 4. NBA Deeper Dive at 5. And NBA Live Before Lock at 6. That is one show every hour from now all the way till lock for NBA and hockey. That is absolutely crazy. NBA player rankings are free today. NFL Top Stacks are free today. NHL player rankings are free today. MMA pro plays are free today. Lots of stuff going on. This is a very busy Friday around Awesemo.com. You don't want to miss any of this stuff. We're moving it on to what is probably the easiest game to handle for today. Golden State at Boston. Golden State 3.5-point favorites. Wiggins at 12% ownership on FanDuel is the only guy north of 10%. If you're rostering anybody in this game, it's Curry, Wiggins, Green, or Poole. I don't think you could take anybody else on Golden State, and I don't even really want all that much of the 4 guys that I just named.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. Poole, Green, Wiggins, they all look fine. They all look like there's probably 7 or 8 guys ahead of them that I would rather get to. You have, your tier of very good, very popular players, then a tier of good, less popular players, and then like a third tier, and then Golden State guys start to come in around there. So they're fine. They'll be low owned. They certainly have a ceiling, but they don't stand out. Curry's in the same boat. Clearly always happy to have Curry in a lineup, but I also have really no idea how I get to him tonight.
Yep. Do you know what his FanDuel points per minute rate is over the past 30 days?
Very bad.
1.16.
Yeah, not great.
Yep, not at all. I don't get him normally. And like, that's not how I'm projecting him. I got him at 1.3, but not good. On the Boston side, everybody that normally plays for Boston is available. The only guy that they don't have, Jabari Parker, is out with COVID for the second time. Jason Tatum is the most interesting piece here. 9,600 on FanDuel, 10% owned. 9K on DraftKings, 15% owned. I'm not all that interested in anything from Boston, but that price on Tatum can't be ignored.
Agreed. It's the kind of price tag where on most slates, it would just be like a slam dunk, get this guy in your lineups. Here on DraftKings, he's getting 15% ownership. I think that makes sense. He's going to play 36, 37, 38 minutes, assuming this game's competitive. Golden State's very good defensively, but they also play at a fast pace. There's going to be extra possessions here, and Tatum is just mispriced. Like even, with Jaylen Brown, like he's still better than a 9K player. So it looks like a pretty obvious value if you can get him in.
And then everybody else is just sort of filler.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I'm not getting to Brown at 8,500, Horford at 6,500, Smart at 5,400. They both look fine, but there's like 100 guys that look better. I did want to check.
By the way, I think Jaylen Brown looks like an interesting GPP play on FanDuel. Only 7,200, shooting guard, small forward. If those minutes are back, we got him at 2% ownership. That's the kind of guy I want to get in the GPP.
Yeah, he played 30 minutes last game, but he also lost a minute 52 to garbage time. So they were willing to play him 32 minutes, basically. You could certainly see a couple more here. So
I gave him 32, and I feel pretty good. And like, if you told me that he played 34 or 36, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, 8,500 on DraftKings is, I think, still pretty difficult to get to. But I agree with you on FanDuel. And as far as Tatum goes, he's played 14 games with Jaylen Brown this year, 1.15 DraftKings points per minute, but 37 minutes per game, 31.6% usage rate. All you really need is his shot to fall, and he's going to smash that salary.
The Orlando Magic canceled their shoot around for today.
Oh, good. How many games do we end up with tonight?
I mean, definitely not 9.
Yeah.
After that, I don't know. I mean, if they're going to lop one off, I don't mind them just cutting out Miami, Orlando, because I don't give a shit about that game.
Over under 7.5.
I mean, it's not the craziest line in the world.
Today's the day they start with the testing everybody too.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know what to make of it right now. That's it for Boston.
Somebody in chat just said Heineke has COVID. When you were doing your ad read, I texted my mom and said, "Oh, Taylor Heineke has." I said Taylor Heineke COVID positive. Kyle Allen's already out, and so like all she saw on the phone pop up was me saying COVID positive, and so I got like a.
Well, speaking of COVID positive, the Los Angeles Lakers are 1-point dogs in Minnesota. For the Lakers, no Russell Westbrook, Avery Bradley, Dwight Howard, Trevor Ariza, Talen Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn. It appears that Malik Monk is available. He is still on the injury report. Last I looked, saying he's out, but we got a report saying that he got 2 negative tests and is good. And he tweeted out that he's back. So I'm going to assume that he is, but let's be clear here. He could just very much be wrong. But I am treating it like Malik Monk is in. We also know that the Lakers have signed Isaiah Thomas, which should be a cure-all. Are they better with Isaiah Thomas over Russell Westbrook? That is a question that you'll be able to ask. LeBron James, 25-ish% owned on FanDuel and DraftKings. AD, 25-ish% owned on FanDuel and DraftKings. I am clearly more than okay playing either one of those guys today. Ownership feels about right to me too, given their prices. I don't have much to add here. This is a great spot for those two guys.
Yeah, agreed. So far this year without Westbrook on the floor, Davis, 218 minutes, 1.16 DraftKings points per minute. LeBron's at 1.45 in 190 minutes. I think that you can assume Davis's production is going to go up, considering that for the season he produces at a higher rate than that. But it's obviously better. Like there's more usage, there's more rebounds, there's more assist opportunities to go around. Just makes them both look good here.
Yeah. There's not much to say about how good LeBron and AD look when Russell Westbrook's not on the floor. If you don't know that, send me all of your action. That's for sure. The real question is, what in the world do we do with the rest of this team, and who stands out most to you? Is it an Austin Reeves day at 3,300? Wayne Ellington, Melo, Rondo? How many minutes do we expect Isaiah Thomas to play? Do they start DeAndre Jordan at the flat minimum? This team baffles me.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult on teams like this to say what you think they're going to do, because all season long they've been doing shit that I didn't think they would or should be doing. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of like I can tell you what I would do, and then then ask me like what the two worst things they could do would be, and it's probably going to be that part. But I don't know. So like we know James and Davis are starting. Bradley is out, so you have to replace that. You have to replace Horton Tucker. You have to replace Howard and Westbrook. So LeBron, Davis, Melo, Ellington. So Ellington started last game. So Davis, LeBron, Ellington.
Yeah. I have my guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to piece it together now. Jordan. God, this is so dumb. Jordan and LeBron, Ellington, Reeves, Davis, Jordan.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if it's LeBron, AD, Reeves, Ellington, Monk.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
And I don't know what to do with that. I like whoever's starting. Like is relative. I like whoever starts in this game for sure as potential value options. I think Melo is kind of just locked into a minimum of 26 minutes and potentially more, and he's interesting-ish. Isaiah Thomas is the wild card, although based on what I see, he's not on DraftKings.
I'm not sure.
So that's going to make shit a lot easier.
The reason I'm leaning Jordan over either Reeves or Monk, by the way, is just the matchup. Like Davis is going to defend Towns, but most teams have been using their 4 to defend Towns and then having a 5 with Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I don't. Here's the thing, though. The way that I have this projected, nobody stands out other than the LeBron and AD. Does anybody stand out to you?
Stand out? I would say no, but certainly can be taking shots at Austin Reeves, DeAndre Jordan if he starts. Still would rather go to Cousins though. Malik Monk at 4,400 if he starts to look decent. So I mean, in the sense of I feel really confident in these guys. No, but like Ellington played 33 minutes last game. He certainly can play low to mid 30s again. There's guys from the Lakers that will be getting into my lineups, but the only ones I feel confident in terms of production and my playing time projections as far as like that I'm going to be right are LeBron and Davis. And it's reflected in the ownership. Like on DraftKings, LeBron and Davis are 27 and 26%. Next is Melo and Reeves at 9, Ellington and Rondo at 3 to 4. Monk will come up once he's ruled in, I guess. But I think it's kind of just mix and match the cheap Lakers pieces as needed. LeBron and Davis, when you get to them, you can actually feel good about it.
Yeah. They're basically going to pick 3 starters out of a hat. And that's just going to be who it is.
Do you know how many minutes Thomas played? I guess he played in the G League before he came up.
He dropped like 46, so probably a shit ton.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 40. He dropped 40 plus, and so, it wasn't in a short amount of time. Randall Robinson saying if Rondo plays, he gets like 8 minutes. I would not make that bet. They're missing like 7 dudes. If Rondo plays, he gets like 8 minutes. I gave him 20. If you told me it was 30, I would totally believe it too.
Yeah, I think it's really fluid there.
Yeah. They don't have a choice.
People are insisting there's going to be a starting point guard. LeBron's the point guard.
Yeah. Here are the assist rates that I have for people that aren't LeBron. AD 14, Malik Monk 17, Rondo 31, Isaiah Thomas 17. Nobody else is in double digits. LeBron James, when Russell Westbrook is not on the floor, I got it at 42. So if anybody's curious who the point guard is on that team, it's LeBron. Remember, positions matter on who you guard. There's no set like you don't need an offensive point guard for the Lakers right now. You need some Mario Chalmers looking character.
But yeah, I mean, Rondo obviously, like if he does start, I don't know why he would, but if he does, that's a good sign for his minutes clearly, and he's only 3K flat.
He's an incredible play at 3K if he's starting.
Yeah, and coming off the bench, if you're playing like 150 lineups, he's still fine. Like he can get 20 something minutes at no ownership and be really good. But the point here is like, even though they're shorthanded, the Lakers are just like spitting out new players who are useless in DFS and giving them minutes instead of the normal useless players that they give minutes to. So it's still it's important to remember that the playing time is still volatile and production is still going to be dominated by Davis and James, who's out now. Jordan
Poole, health and safety protocols.
This is going to be a long day.
I don't. Okay. How many more over under half a player ruled out for the rest of our show?
Over.
Let's go to the Minnesota side. Anthony Edwards and Jared Vanderbilt are both 15-ish% owned on FanDuel. D'Angelo Russell and Pat Beverly are both double digits on DraftKings. Edwards, Russell, Towns, Vanderbilt, Beverly, depending on which site you're playing on, I'm going to work those guys in. I really like Edwards at 7,600 on FanDuel. I really like Russell at 8K on FanDuel. Like him just as much on DraftKings too. Towns looks good. Vanderbilt looks really good to me. Beverly looks solid. I mean, I want like those 5 guys from Minnesota. This is an incredible spot against the Lakers.
Yeah, really good spot. Prices have come down a bit from their last game as well. Like it's going to be really tough to get to Towns on this particular slate, but he still looks pretty good if you can get there. Russell at 7,600 looks like a strong option. He was questionable last game, but he still played his normal minutes, played 33 minutes, lost about 2 to garbage time. You can count on 34, 35 if this game's close. Edwards is down to 8K. He has taken a hit when Russell plays, but still has about a 27% usage rate in those games. Still certainly capable of just taking over a game from time to time. Vanderbilt rebounds really well. He's playing a lot of minutes at 5,300. Beverly started out last game on fire. He had like 19 points in the first half, 19 fantasy points in the first half at 1% owned. Thought that was going to be really, really fun. I think he had 20 at halftime. But he played 30 minutes. He was on pace to play 32. Still looks like a reasonable value. Just a lot of guys where on a normal slate, these would just be like fantastic plays. Today, it's just like, yeah, they look good.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm landing right now. Anything else you want to add for Minnesota? We got a lot to do yet. Not a lot of time to do it. Good God. All righty. PrizePicks is the presenting sponsor of this show. If you use the promo code Awesemo, make sure you're looking at that banner at the top of the screen. You can go to awesemo.com/prizepicks-promo. Get a $100 first match deposit bonus and 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at PrizePicks. There's no sharks or optimizers or mass entries. Making parlay cards with player props. And we have free player prop tools at our website that can help you out and let you guys do it. I'm going to hit Adam with a few potential over-under fantasy scores. We'll see where he ends up on some of these guys. Let us start with Jordan Poole, over-under 28.5. Psych. Drew Holiday. We didn't get to yet. Over under 42 fantasy points.
Over.
Yeah, I got him at 47.5. So I'm going to soar over that number for Drew Holiday. Let's go to a game that we have already looked at. Let's go with Nikola Jokic, 57.
Over. I didn't need to hear the number.
Okay. I have the over as well. Not by a lot, though, but I do have the over. And then we'll hit you with one final one. Here's a good one. Kyle Lowry, 37.5.
Over.
So I've got him basically on that mark. And that's why I don't think he's a 31% owned play today in a GPP. That's, it's got to be a lot higher than that for that ownership to make a lot of sense to me. Guys, make sure you're going to check it out. $100 instant match deposit bonus and a free month of Awesemo Plus. I mean, you're not going to find many deals better than that. We're going to move it on to game number 5, San Antonio Spurs, 11.5 point underdogs in Utah. Oddly enough, this one's going to be pretty easy, other than the fact that we don't know the status yet of Lonnie Walker, who is still questionable. DeJounte Murray is 9K on FanDuel. He's 14% owned. I think that's very interesting. No one else in this game for San Antonio on FanDuel or DK is projected for more than 4% ownership. I just want to say that I think that's crazy for Keldon Johnson at 5,300, small forward, power forward on FanDuel. But San Antonio doesn't look very good here. This is a bad matchup, and they are the biggest underdog on the slate by 7 points.
Yeah, it's just tough to like a lot here. Like, there's players that I like, Murray, White, Pirtle, Johnson. Like, normally I like rostering any of these guys, but when you look at this slate, there's just so many good plays to get to. Even if I need a 2% owned guy to round out a lineup, I think I can find one that's not playing Utah. So, if you get, like, if you're playing 150 lineups and you happen to get a little bit of any of these guys, it's fine. Like, there's still a decent chance one of these guys outperforms their salary because they are pretty cheap. But I just think there's a lot of guys, even contrarian plays, that I'm going to be getting to before I get there.
Yep. We are on the same page there. So we're going to go to Utah. They actually have 2 or 3 people that look interesting today. Rudy Gobert is 9,100 on FanDuel, 8,300 on DraftKings. I think he looks fantastic. We could have a bigger question about how many centers exist today and how good everybody looks, but This feels like a really good spot for Gobert. Donovan Mitchell, 8,300 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DraftKings, 15 to 20% owned. I think that is all more than warranted. Happy to get to any shares of Mitchell. O'Neal, Bogdanovich, Conley, all very much guys that are going to work their ways into lineup for me. Clarkson too. Utah looks a little bit more interesting than they normally do.
This is actually really interesting to me. So I had seen a lot of people going back to last night, just like on Twitter, complaining about DraftKings pricing today being quote unquote bad. I actually think they did a really good job here, because if you price teams like Utah at their normal salaries on a slate like this, it just makes them absolutely unplayable, and it drives up the ownership on all of the guys that are on like shorthanded teams even more than it already would. By dropping guys like Gobert, Mitchell, Conley, Clarkson, $500 to $1,000. Yes, they are underpriced. It's going to be an insanely high-scoring slate tonight, but that was going to be the case regardless. This at least just gives you more decision points. It gives you more good plays, and as a result, lowers the ownership elsewhere, or at least makes it so that you can make good contrarian plays. So I'm actually a really big fan of what they did. Gobert looks really good. Mitchell looks really good. The only arguments against them go back to what I was just saying. There's still better plays in terms of projections and point per dollar projections. But Gobert looks great. Like, he's likely to play 32, 33 minutes. Would have won me 50K the other day if he could have played one more minute, but that's besides the point. Donovan Mitchell at 8,400 looks good. Conley looks good. Clarkson looks good. No problems with any of these guys. They're all relatively low owned as well. Mitchell, the only one on DraftKings coming in above 10%. So it just gives you a spot where they're not the best plays on the slate, but when you're kind of trying to find that last piece or two where it's like, all right, I need to save some ownership, but I still need a guy that can go get 50 plus fantasy points. There's some guys here that you can look at.
Well, here are a couple other guys that we were able to look at. Milwaukee at New Orleans. Bucks are 3-point favorites in New Orleans, and a couple guys out for Milwaukee that might have some importance for this game. Chris Middleton is probable. Yay. Giannis out. Portis out. DiVincenzo out. Brook Lopez out. Wes Matthews out. Semi Ojeleye out. Thanasis Antetokounmpo doubtful. Whew. Drew Holiday is 25-ish% owned on FanDuel and DraftKings. I'm going to have a lot more than that on FanDuel for sure. Chris Middleton is 24% owned on FanDuel and 36% owned on DraftKings, where he is, I have no idea why, $6,700. That's wrong even when they're healthy. Grayson Allen is 15% owned on FanDuel at just 4K. DeMarcus Cousins is 14% owned on FanDuel at 3,700, 25% owned on DraftKings at 3,100. We can talk about Mamu. We can talk about George Hill, not owned right now. Rodney Hood, Smart, Wara. I don't know what we're doing here. Do you have anything very specific you want to say about Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton other than just jam these dudes in?
So they played 10 games since the start of last year. Holiday and Middleton have played 10 games together with Giannis inactive. In those 10 games, 1.26 DraftKings points per minute for Holiday. He has a 26.5% usage rate, 33.4% assist percentage. Middleton in those same 10 games, 1.25 DraftKings points per minute, 30.3% usage rate, 26.5% assist percentage. So yeah, they both look really good. Just play them.
What were the rates you had on Drew there?
Damn it. 26.5% usage, 33.4% assists.
Wow, I have him so much higher back to last year. So I'm gonna have
If
to
you go,
rates.
yeah, if you there's a really big gap if you look at the actual games that Giannis missed versus the time Giannis isn't on the floor.
Okay, what do you think causes that?
Probably defend. My assumption is probably defensive attention, but because obviously if Giannis isn't on the floor, you're still getting more attention on Drew. But I think a lot of times it's probably a situation where it's the second unit and it doesn't really matter. So I think it could be that. I think it also could just be a matter of game plan, sort of going in, he's just, the plan isn't for him to have a 30% usage rate. So I don't know, but it is weird the way that it works out.
Where do you think the truth lies? Somewhere in the middle?
I typically
where do you want to project? Where do you want to project Drew Holiday's rates? Because if you look at him just on off, it's 33 or so.
I typically use the full games, especially here. I mean, you have 323 minutes over those 10 games. I typically prefer using when it's more than a few games. I typically prefer using that just because I think it does a better job of capturing a bunch of stuff that just basketball related stuff that is tough to track. But it also does a better job of giving you an idea of how things work out given the rotations that they're likely to use.
Sure. Talk about Boogie.
Grant Williams is out.
Of course he is.
So I win on the over. Not that it matters for DFS.
I mean, you set your own line, so.
I
set that one. You set the line of games. Never mind. Working on it, though. Talk about Boogie.
He's going to play, I don't know, somewhere between 12 and 38 minutes, but it doesn't really matter because he's 3,100 on DraftKings. As long as he gets on the floor, basically, he's going to be a really, really good value. You can say what you want about him as a basketball player, what he's lost from what he used to be, but he still gets it done from a DFS standpoint. He played 13 minutes in his last game. Obviously, I don't say that in the sense that I'm expecting him to only play 13 minutes tonight, but it's not he's been severely limited this year. I expect his conditioning will allow him to at least play 16 to 18 minutes, if not more. So far this season, he has produced, I wish it would load quicker, but so far this season, it's 86 minutes played. He's at 0.99 DraftKings points per minute, but he has a 20.5%.
Make it 2, Al Horford.
Oh, great. So
Time Lord season today, baby.
Yeah, for now.
Cool. That's good. We didn't have enough center value.
Right. So Cousins 0.99 DraftKings points per minute this year, but he has a 20% rebounding percentage, 20.5% usage rate. He just looks like a very good $3,100 value.
Yeah. So here's first question. Don't know if you have an answer or if it matters. Do Cousins and Mamu split all of the center minutes? I'll let you know right now that Jordan Moore is the next tallest guy on the team.
I don't know if they can, is the answer.
Right. I gave them 22 apiece. Don't really know what to take out of that information, but I gave Wara the other 4.
What's the most minutes Mamu Klashvili's played this year?
He played a bundle earlier in a game, if I remember correctly. He played 22 on the 2nd of December, so that's at least a floor.
Yeah, Joe Val and Hernan Gomez are just going to go nuts.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, they're just Joe Val is going to absolutely eviscerate DeMarcus Cousins.
I mean, this actually is. I think they play small, not because they have an answer for they don't have anybody behind Mamu Klashvili and Cousins that is an answer, but those two aren't an answer either. I think they play small just and say, look, maybe we can get Joe Val off the floor and make this just a 5-out game.
Yeah. Jordan Wara, by the way, 3,300 on DraftKings. The other tallest guy on this team right now, per Basketball Reference, is Rodney Hood.
I'm just trying to think what lineup makes the Pelicans the most uncomfortable? Holiday, Middleton, Allen, Hood, Connaughton?
I don't know. Probably.
I bet they just end up running a bunch of that.
Wouldn't surprise me.
There's no answer one way or the other. They're not stopping their only chance of stopping Joe Val / Hernan Gomez is for the Pelicans to take them off the floor.
Wow, this is the second time Horford's had COVID in 2 months.
Did he test positive, or he's just in health and safety?
I don't know. We'll find out. Milwaukee's another one where, like, not that we're going to get a lot of news, but this one will be a little bit more interesting as we get through the day. Do you have anything else you want to touch on for the Bucks right now? Because we still have a shit ton of stuff to talk about.
The secondary pieces all look fine, but huge slate. So I think it's, Holiday, Middleton, the clear priorities. Cousins looks like a really good value. Do pay attention to that ownership, though, because there is still opportunity cost of the position. And there is a chance, like we were just saying, that you get like 24 total center minutes from the Bucks here.
On the Pelicans side, Josh Hart is about 15% owned. Devontae Graham is 15% owned on FanDuel. Nobody is standing out as a priority here, but Ingram, Hart, Joe Val, Graham, Herb Jones, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, all guys that are just going to work their way into lineups for me today.
Agreed. If assuming that he doesn't get shot off the floor, Joe Val looks unbelievably good. You can say the same for $3,900 Hernan Gomez in terms of what he's going to do when he's on the floor, but it's also very difficult to get to a 17-minute center. I would say that, like, if you need a cheap center and you don't want to play Boogie for like ownership reasons, Hernan Gomez is kind of the same play.
Celtics and Warriors both canceled their shoot-arounds. I'm with you, though, on Willie Hernan Gomez. 3,900 works.
Right. It's like, let's say you have a lineup where you have a lot of ownership going elsewhere. The $800 difference between him and Boogie doesn't really make a difference. The reason that I say they're comparable is, like, Cousins is the one that you would go to in cash first. You should prefer him, but it wouldn't be surprising to anybody if Cousins plays like 16 to 18 minutes and this game just goes small. Or play 16 to 18 minutes and just isn't that good. Hernan Gomez is producing like 1.3 DraftKings points per minute this year. He's assuming that the Pelicans do give their normal 48 minutes to centers, and you're getting 16, 17 minutes from Hernan Gomez. He can beat Boogie pretty easily, as long as Boogie doesn't play like 26 minutes.
Let's go to the Hornets in Portland. Hornets are 1.5 point dogs. There's a Q tag on LaMelo Ball, but he is available to play. If LaMelo is in, I don't know if I really get to anything from Charlotte.
That's pretty much where I'm at as well. Prices,
and even if he's out, I don't think it's super interesting either way.
Right. There's guys you can take tournament shots on. Bridges, Rozier, Hayward, all look fine. But the same kind of thing. They'll be like 2% owned. They can certainly do well. They're not at the top of the list.
Yeah. We need to make sure that we get to the Sacramento team, and like, the highest owned guy on Charlotte right now is 4.9% owned Bridges, and I don't have any thoughts above that. So,
right.
Different on Portland, though. Ownership on Portland on FanDuel: Lillard 23, Powell 16, Little 17, Nance 15, Nurkic 30 at 6,500. A couple of these guys are all in the 10 to 15% range on DraftKings. This is a bad Charlotte defense and a fast Charlotte team. Portland looks pretty damn good today from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, they do. Charlotte's basically been a cheat code all season long. Nothing really should change here. 9,300 on DraftKings for Lillard looks great. 7,300 for Nurkic looks good. He's been playing more minutes lately. Seems like you can count on him to play around 30. Powell at 6,300, Nance at 4,700. Any of these guys look like solid plays.
Yeah, they all look really tasty. 30% ownership to Nurkic on FanDuel is really scary to me because he can blow apart a $6,500 price tag if he's getting those minutes. But there's just so much out there at center, and every lineup you have Nurk, you don't have Jokic. You could still have AD. You don't have Boogie Cousins as the pay down. Very interesting center discussion throughout this day at center on FanDuel. I think I said center twice in that sentence, but you know what I mean. It was important. But yeah, like for Portland, it's just all the guys that play 28 minutes or more: Lillard, Powell, Little, Simons, Nance, Nurkic, Covington. Pay attention to them. Some of them are very heavily owned. We'll close it out. Memphis at Sacramento. Grizzlies are 4.5 point favorites in Sacktown. Dylan Brooks is 30% owned on FanDuel, 18 on DraftKings. Jaren Jackson is 32% owned on FanDuel at 6,400. Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones are about 15% owned. All of those guys look really, really good to me, depending on which spot we're looking at. Maybe you're a little over-owned like Dylan Brooks. On the Memphis side, we still have no John Morant, no Brandon Clark, no Zaire Williams. What are your thoughts on Memphis?
It's another kind of cheat code spot going up against Sacramento. Just a bunch of good plays. Like you have some ownership coming in on Dylan Brooks at 6,300. You have ownership 12% coming in on Jaren Jackson Jr. on DraftKings at 6,700. Jones is at 10%. Everybody else is lower. I just like getting these guys in general. Brooks is going to shoot a lot. Jackson, if he stays out of foul trouble, is going to look good. He's been, very productive without John Morant. Desmond Bane gets increased scoring opportunities. Tyus Jones is likely to play 32 minutes or so. They all just look like solid options to me. Not, the best guys on the slate, but still just very good plays.
Yeah. Jaren Jackson continues to just look really good on a FanDuel perspective with no Morant. Welp, here it comes. Closing it out. Sacramento Kings. Deep breath. Ready? Here we go. No Terrence Davis, no Marvin Bagley, no Lewis King. This much we know. Doubtful tags on De'Aaron Fox, Rashawn Holmes, Alex Len. Q tags on Tyrese Halliburton and Chimezie Metu. I don't think that there's much that we can say right now. Assuming the Q tag guys play and the doubtful guys don't, we've got Davion Mitchell projected for 50% ownership on FanDuel at 4,700. I do not like that. We've got him projected for 69% ownership on DraftKings at 3,600. Very much reasonable, assuming he's just going to play 30-something minutes. Halliburton, Barnes, Buddy Hield, Tristan Thompson, all pulling massive ownership in some of these spots. I find Damian Jones to be really interesting at 2% ownership on FanDuel and 6% owned on DraftKings because they don't have a ton of bodies, and I don't know how they're splitting these minutes. Is there anything that you just immediately see for Sacramento that basically doesn't change based on news?
Davion Mitchell.
Agreed. It's craziness right now. I think Barnes is great one way or the other as well.
Yeah, and I would say assuming Tristan Thompson starts, I like him regard. Like there's no news that would come out. There's nobody questionable that would make me like Thompson less, assuming he starts.
And there's another, what are your thoughts on Damian Jones? Because I think that's the interesting piece. Flat minimum.
Yeah, I think he's
that's
interesting.
A Cousins pivot right there, right?
What'd you say?
That's a Cousins pivot right there.
I was going to say, like he's not as productive, but you could certainly just get more minutes than we're expecting. Even Thompson at 3,800, he's only getting 20% ownership right now. Seems pretty reasonable as well. The other advantage or potential advantage to looking to somebody like even Jones, Thompson, these guys, it does give you more flexibility. Like we have 3 games that start 2 hours after the DeMarcus Cousins game. There's a decent chance that something stupid happens between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the good news is no matter what you're building, no matter how these starting lineups get ruled out, we got 6 teams, hopefully 6 teams that are playing at 10 o'clock tonight. Like you're just going to have spots available in your lineups.
Somebody
but
said
as of right now, most of Sacramento looks incredible.
If Halliburton plays, somebody in chat said if Halliburton plays, Mitchell shouldn't be that high owned. It doesn't really matter. Like there's 36 minutes open from Fox being out, and Mitchell's already playing like 24 minutes a night.
Yeah, I gave him 34 for right now. I gave Halliburton 36.
Yeah, I was curious. I want to see how many minutes he's played with Fox off.
If Halliburton doesn't play, obviously Mitchell's playing 36 minutes or more. He just doesn't have a choice. But if Halliburton's in, I think he's still doing that.
Yeah, Mitchell's played 275 minutes this year with De'Aaron Fox off the floor and with Halliburton on. He has a 21.2% usage rate, which is actually higher than Halliburton's. 0.78 DraftKings points per minute. If you assume that Mitchell plays 32 minutes or 34 minutes, he just looks very good at 3,600 and obviously he could A, play more minutes and B, produce at an above average rate as well.
Davion Mitchell is likely the first guy into every cash lineup today on DraftKings.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of like simultaneously putting him, Holiday, and Middleton in, I think. But
yeah. At 3,600 though, like no matter how this news breaks for Sacramento, he's just in and playing. They don't have any other functional human beings to do it. Yeah. And he already plays when everybody else is in.
Oh, and when we were talking about good players that, regardless of news, forgot Buddy Hield.
Yeah. 5,100 on FanDuel, 5,100 on DraftKings, shooting guard, small forward. Can't really ask for much more there. Dude's going to gun today, depending on how this breaks.
In the 275 minutes that Mitchell and Halliburton have played together without Fox, Mitchell's at 0.78 DraftKings points per minute. Halliburton's at 0.96. Hield is at 1.11. Tristan Thompson has been on the floor for 76 of those minutes, 1.14 DraftKings points per minute. Barnes has been out there for 61 minutes at 1.08 DraftKings points per minute.
Injury video and GPP play videos coming out later today?
Yeah, I have a feeling the 5-minute injury video might be about 2 hours long. But that'll be out around 1:30. No, I think that comes out at 2:30. I think my tournament thing comes out at 1:30. Either way, yes, short videos coming sometime between 1 p.m. and like 3 p.m.
Deeper dive at 5?
Yep.
Make sure you guys are watching the deeper dive and live before lock today. It's going to be a doozy. This is a hell of a slate. And if you are not going to be available from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock tonight, don't play.
If you're not going to be available from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, probably also don't play, but definitely.
Or if you are not going to be around and you're just still hell bent on playing, play me.
Play what?
Play me. Whatever you want, because you're going to need to late swap tonight. If you don't late swap tonight, I have a sneaky suspicion you're going to be in some trouble. Best of luck, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Remember, we've got a show coming up every single hour, all the way till 7 o'clock. We're covering everything: NFL, hockey, college football, basketball. This is a good one. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you again soon.